You guys have spent decades campaigning against colonialism. And yet, very interestingly, the moment that Africans actually self-determine, is Uganda decides they want to say, why are you gay? Why should someone be gay? Suddenly now, the liberals become imperialists, and suddenly now they're saying, hey, you can't do that, right? Rainbow flag imperialism. We know the whole song and dance. Okay, so we're about to talk about the Ugandans. But every time we introduce a Ugandan news topic on this channel, you know what we have to do? Bring in the studio this morning one of the gay rights activists, Mr. Should I call you Mr? Pepe Julian Onziema. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for
Good morning.
Morning to you.
Why are you gay?
Who says I'm gay?
You are gay. You are a transgender.
What shows that I'm gay?
You are a transgender, yes, and you're a gay rights activist and an outspoken lesbian, homosexual. How can I describe you? Now, we're looking at the raging debate. You're a gay rights activist. Why should someone be gay? You're having a girlfriend.
Yes.
Do you perform the natural obligations?
I'm not sexually active right now.
So what are you doing with this lady?
By choice.
By choice?
Yeah. I've chosen not to engage.
Doesn't that make you gay?
What do you mean, doesn't that make me gay? I am male and attracted to a female.
So who is gay?
I'm gay.
So true. In fact, I would like to, I think in relation to this new law, we need a follow-up interview with Pepe Julian Onziema. Thank you for coming in. What has happened to her? I kind of want to find that out, actually. But anyways, the story of the night, Uganda's president has officially now signed this new law that essentially outlaws homosexuality over in the African nation of Uganda. We talked about this a few months ago when it passed the parliament. We're doing a follow-up segment, and so now it is official, right? This is the law of the land in Uganda. Okay. Now, let me say before we actually get into a discussion, because we're gonna talk actually about sort of what I think about it, the implications. But let me first and foremost say that there's a lot of misinformation, mainly from the left, right, regarding this bill. So just to be clear about what this bill actually says, yes, it does prescribe prison time for having gay sex. It's essentially a sodomy law, very similar to like what the United States actually. People don't know this, used to have as late as, I think, even the 1960s, 1970s, laws like this existed in the US. But particularly, you keep hearing this, right? Death penalty for homosexuality. No. Just to be clear, it prescribes the death penalty for what is called aggravated homosexuality. And per the New York Times, this is a term that is defined as acts of same-sex relations with children or disabled people, those carried out under threat or while someone is unconscious. This offense of attempted aggravated homosexuality, which is, we have aggravated an assault in America. I do kind of get a kick out of the fact that the Africans call it aggravated homosexuality, but that's what they call it, right? But this, carries a sentence of up to 14 years. And if you read further here, basically what it prescribes is if you gay rape a child, that is what you get the death penalty for, right? So death penalty for pedophiles. Just to make that clear, that's what the law in Uganda actually says. Now, for the record, I think that is perfectly justified, right? And so understand when people say, oh, death penalty for homosexuality in Uganda, that's not what it's about. It's about the death penalty specifically for pedophilia and specifically for raping children, right? That is what the death penalty in Uganda is being prescribed for. And so just to understand, anyone who goes out and says this about the bill, either A, is lying and knowingly lying, which I think many liberals out there are, and if they are knowingly lying, then what they are making the defense for here actually is pedophilia, because yes, do I necessarily think that the death penalty should be the prescription for every crime? Not necessarily, but pedophilia, I think that's pretty black and white. I don't really have much of a moral issue with that. But anyways, on the last time we talked about this, we discussed the fact that the Biden administration was threatening sanctions. And basically, you know, the press secretary and all that went out and got super mad about how, oh no, like, you know, Uganda, we're gonna impose sanctions on you. This is so wrong, this and that. And what I said last time about this was self-determination, right? I pointed that out because last time we brought up this topic, it was mainly liberals, it was mainly Democrats who were going out there and saying, how dare Uganda do this? The international community needs to be up in arms. And I said in response to that, I said, well, wait a minute, guys. For years, all you people said was self-determination in Africa, right? You guys have spent decades campaigning against colonialism and talking about how European colonialism was the worst thing to ever happen to Africa, and Africa needs self-determination, and we're going to make a million Bob Marley songs about it and all this stuff. And yet, very interestingly, as we do seem to notice, right, the moment that Africans actually self-determine, the moment that they are allowed to make their own laws, and, you know, as Uganda decides they want to say, why are you gay? Why should someone be gay? Okay, suddenly now the liberals become imperialists, and suddenly now they're saying, hey, you can't do that, right? Rainbow flag imperialism. We know the whole song and dance. And so that's what I pointed out in the last time. And listen, I will say this, okay? Whether you think the law is, you know, you say, oh, it goes too far, it goes too far. Who really cares? It's their business, right? It's their country. I actually genuinely do. I am a nationalist. I genuinely do believe in self-determination, which means I believe that Uganda absolutely as a society, especially a society that is 81% Christian, very traditional and all this stuff, they have the right to self-determine. They have the right to make laws the way they want to make them. And frankly, you know, unlike the liberals who pretended to say this stuff for years, I genuinely don't necessarily believe America should play world police. But that was last time. That was when we were talking about the Biden response to this, because we now have to talk about conservative outrage against the nation of Uganda. Yesterday on Memorial Day, Senator Ted Cruz. You hate to see it. You hate to see it, okay? Come on, Senator. All right, you're better than this. But he tweeted out, this Uganda, because that's how he talks, this Uganda law is horrific and wrong. Any law criminalizing homosexuality or imposing the death penalty for aggravated homosexuality is grotesque and an abomination. Okay, chat. As we just went over, right, what he is referring to as aggravated homosexuality, that's raping children, Ted Cruz, okay? So I will acknowledge, you know, maybe you're just ignorant. Maybe you haven't read the bill and you're kind of impulsively tweeting about this, which I think is problematic in itself, and you shouldn't be doing that. But and that's kind of enabling the left by doing that. But still, regardless, OK, let's just point that out in case the senator here is unaware. What he's referring to as aggravated homosexuality is, again, pedophilia, is, again, literally raping children. OK. So, you know, Senator, I don't think that's grotesque and an abomination. Now, if you want to say criminalizing homosexuality, blah, 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 this and that, oh, that's too much. And then he says all civilized nations should join together in condemning this human rights abuse. And then to add insult to injury here, he tweets out hashtag LGBTQ, right? Because in the sense that conservatives are always the liberals of 10 years ago, we're not just saying LGBT, we're adding the Q. I wonder how long it will be until Ted Cruz adds the QIA plus, and then the 2S. Have you heard about that one in Canada, the two-spirit one? But anyways, there you have it, okay? There's Senator Ted Cruz going out and saying this. Now, I will say, okay, to me, again, think what you will about this law, okay? You may say, oh, it's too much. This tweet is completely a virtue signal, okay? Because, you know, as an American, as a conservative in this country, you know what the biggest deal is to me? It's not how Uganda is answering the question of what to do about sexuality or LGBT or whatever. It's the fact that I look around in my own country, right? And Pride Month is coming up. We know all about this. I'm seeing child drag shows, which should not be a thing. I'm seeing pride onesies, okay? I'm seeing some of the most disgusting nonsense being projected on the airwaves in the education system. And honestly, let me just say, I think before conservatives go and try to virtue signal about Uganda for bastardizing freedom or whatever. Maybe we should step in and do something. I'm not saying do Uganda, but do something about the issue in our own country, right? About the fact that children are being groomed and we have all these problems that everyone knows about within our own nation, right? And that's what Ted Cruz chose to tweet about on Memorial Day, right? As we near Pride Month, which, by the way, maybe Memorial Day you should just stay away, which is why I didn't even stream, but whatever, fine. We're nearing Pride Month. We know about Kohl's, we know about Target, Bud Light, stuff in the schools, stuff on Disney, all that stuff. Instead of going out and taking a big stand against that, what is the priority of Senator Ted Cruz? I think those Ugandans are doing too much. They're going too far with the homosexuality thing. What are you even trying to do there? Huh? Ted, do you think this virtue signal is going to work for the left? Do you think the left is now going to say, I don't think Ted Cruz is homophobic because he said the Ugandan law is wrong? No, they're not going to do that. I think he's trying to win brownie points here from the left. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. But, on top of that, right? It's a slap in the face to all the conservatives in this country. Because we don't want to hear virtue signaling about what a tiny African nation thousands of miles across the sea is doing. We want to hear answers and solutions to what you're going to do about the fact that, again, they're grooming children in our country, right? That they're promoting disgusting stuff in our country. And, so it's disappointing to say the least from Senator Ted Cruz to see that, this is apparently his priority. Okay. So let me say, to the liberals, I say you should let Africa self-determine. I will say to conservatives, A, the same thing, but also B, how about before we start virtue signaling about Africa, we start, what's the opposite of virtue signaling? Virtue enacting, right? How about we start virtue enacting here in the United States? So to Ted Cruz, one last question for you. I have one last question for you before we end this segment. Why are you gay? Hey guys, Vince Dao here. Hope you enjoyed that clip from the Vince Dao show. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you are new to the channel. And be sure to check out the Vince Dao show live every weeknight here on this channel at 8 p.m. Eastern time. It is a great show. Many are saying this. So leave a like, check out our other clips, and be sure to check out the show. Yeah. God bless.